Race number 19 of the 2003 NASCAR Winston Cup Series season heads to Joliet, Illinois, here at the Chicagoland Speedway for the Tropicana 400 right here on JRTV. I'm Joe Rakowski, alongside me in the booth. It is Trey Bardo. Trey, you unfortunately never got to race as this racetrack, as it's a very new one. Only the third Winston Cup Series race here at this racetrack. The first race held here in 2001. We've seen some crazy racing in the past. However, over the past few years of this track being worn in, broken in, racing has gotten a little bit calmer. Do you think we'll see a calm race here this weekend at Chicagoland, or will it kind of go back to that first race where we saw 4 or 5 caution flags over the course of the race?
It's hard to tell. I mean, look outside, Joe. It's not the nicest of weather, right? So you would have to think that's going to up the way these guys race, but it's hard to tell. I mean, I would be all right with a calmer race, but at the same time, I know these fans want to see some action, so I guess it's really a toss-up.
Yeah, you mentioned the weather. It's a little bit cooler day. It's a cloudy, overcast day, so that means the grip is going to go up, which means the corner speeds are going to go up, and the straightaway speeds as well with that. So we'll have to see how that impacts the race, and if the cars are a little bit more harder to drive or a little bit more of a handful as they're going faster through the corners, that's yet to be determined, as we'll determine that down to turn 1 on the first lap once we take the green flag. And the first driver going into turn 1 is going to be Bibby Ruiz from Melling Ultra Motorsports in the number 7. Trey, what an impressive qualifying result. I mean, look at the drivers around Bibby Ruiz. Keyshawn Richardson for Roush, Jay Reno for Roush, Mathis Wells, last season's champion for Joe Gibbs Racing, an RCR car, a DEI car, a Hendrick car, another RCR car. So Bibby Ruiz put his number 7 up there with the class of the field. He's going to lead them to the green flag, and who knows, he might be a contender for a race victory here today.
Yeah, I think this is definitely one of the biggest upsets so far this season. I mean, I know a lot of these teams were impressed and a little surprised by this number 7 getting up on the pole, and we'll have to see if it can translate to the race pace we're going to see here today. Because Joe, like you mentioned, this is not no small company around him.
Yeah, that's very true. And while he may be leading the field to the green flag, his teammate is going to be in a different battle here today. It's Colin Lewis in the number 91. The reason he sits 35th in owners' points. Why is that such a big deal? Well, the top 35 qualify in automatically into every single race. So if you're not inside the top 35, you have to race your way in on speed. Colin Lewis holds 35th. The guy behind him in 36th is Jacob Miller. What's so important about that? Well, Jacob Miller finished 1 spot in front of Colin Lewis at Daytona. That 1 spot got him 3 extra points over Lewis. He entered Daytona 4 points behind him, so he leads Trey just 1 point behind Colin Lewis. So basically, whoever finishes higher here at Chicagoland will be 35th in points, and will it be Miller or will it be Colin Lewis? That's yet to be decided, but it could be a chaotic battle. If those two are near each other pretty much all race long, you just have to beat the driver by 1 point or by 1 position, and Jacob Miller could jump Colin Lewis.
It might be weird to say that the biggest battle might not be for the lead here today. It might be for the the 35th place in points, right? It's a little strange, but I feel like these guys they both know what's on the line, and honestly, Joe, it's a lot on the line if you think about it. So they're definitely going to be giving it their all today.
And Jacob Miller out-qualified Colin Lewis, so we'll see how that comes into play throughout the Tropicana 400 here at Chicagoland, and we'll have to see how Roush Racing comes into play here at the Chicagoland Speedway. The past few weeks, we've kind of talked about Roush, how they've qualified well, and we said this could be a really good race for them. But Trey, every single week over the past 3 or 4 weeks, we said, Roush qualified well. In the race, they were nowhere. I mean, you think back to Michigan where they had a lot of qualifying, drivers up inside the top 10, but they didn't finish inside the top 10. Same thing happened at New Hampshire. At Daytona, they qualified well, didn't race all that well. So, Trey, what is it with Roush Racing? They started the season so dominant. Keyshawn Richardson, leading the points. Jay Reno getting multiple victories. Now, here we are in the summer. They have fallen in points. Keyshawn Richardson has dropped down inside the top 5, and that's their highest driver in points. I think he's the only Roush car inside the top 10 in points. They have 2 cars starting inside the top 3 here today. But, Trey, that doesn't mean that they're going to stay there.
Yeah, I don't. I'm at a loss, just like everyone else. I mean, this is we're not really used to it from a team like this. And like you said, they were so dominant at the beginning of the season, and they were dominant the last how many seasons too, right? And then all of a sudden, they just they can't seem to have the race pace and stay up front with everyone else. So hopefully, they get it figured out here soon, and they're back to where they were, because I think everyone's kind of rooting for Roush to come back in this championship fight to see what they have themselves, but they just can't seem to get the race pace, or the things don't go their way and they don't have the luck. So eventually you'd have to think they figure it out.
Well, if there's one team that is happy that they came back to Chicagoland Speedway for the next race, it is Roush Racing, because last season they had the first 3 cars in the race at some points during it. Keyshawn Richardson ended up in victory lane, so we'll have to see if Roush can find that same magic. Once again, they have Richardson starting in 2nd place, Randall starting in 3rd. We'll have to see if they can stay there. The unfortunate part, one of their drivers that was set to start up inside the top 15, Zachary DeLello, failed inspection along with Sabat Oskin and Zachary Fitzwater Sr. Those 3 drivers have to come from the back of the field. We'll see if they can try and work their way through the traffic here in the Tropicana 400. We'll go take a look now at the track facts for the racetrack here in Joliet, Illinois. Not so nice of a day, but still pretty warm. 79 degrees out here in Joliet with a little bit of wind, 5 miles an hour in the east direction. This race will be 54 laps. That's 81 miles in the field window. They can go right to the midway point, 27 to 30 laps. We'll have to see if the undercut or the overcut works. It is a little bit of a narrower pit road than we're used to seeing on the circuit. 18 degrees of banking in the turns, 11 on the front stretch, and only 5 on the back stretch. And watch out, if you win this race, odds are you do pretty well in the points. Mathis Wells, Keyshawn Richardson, the 2 winners of this race the past 2 seasons, ended up inside the top 10 in points. Wells ended up 3rd in points in 2001. Richardson ended up 8th in 2002. We'll have to see if the winner of the race this season will end up at the top of the point standings. But for those drivers up there in the points bound for the championship, they have to come from the back of the field or mid-pack. Eli Bright, the highest starting of them, he comes in 3rd in points. He starts 13th. Evan Hunter, who comes in 2nd in points, starts all the way back outside the top 30. And Brett Sayre, the points leader with a dominating season so far, starts in 21st place in that number 25. So we'll get down trackside to get command, fire the engines up for the Tropicana 400 here at Chicagoland.
Drivers, start your engines!
And there roll off the 42 cars to do battle here in Joliet, Illinois at the Chicagoland Speedway. Starting in 5th place, number 30, Justin Atkins Trey. He has 2 career Winston Cup Series victories. Those 2 victories came at Kansas and Las Vegas. 2 racetracks very similar to Chicagoland Speedway, both D-shaped ovals. So can Justin Atkins make it 3 for 3 on 3 different D-shaped ovals here today at Chicagoland?
It's I would think he's definitely the favorite, you'd have to say, right, with the statistics at least. But I mean, RCR, they're starting to get there. They're slowly making their way a lot better as the season continues. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him up front.
Let's quickly talk about the man that's starting in 7th place, Leighton Strickland, because he was in the middle of some sort of controversy at Daytona where under the green flag he got into his former ride, number 15 Ryan Wilson, spun Wilson down to the inside wall at the pit wall and then through the grass, but the caution never showed. Wilson obviously a little bit frustrated with Strickland, more frustrated with the officials. How can Strickland get over that and get back to racing here in Chicagoland?
He just has to forget it, Joe. It's as simple as that. Just move on to the next race and forget about it.
Well, the pace car is in. Bibby Ruiz, the underdog from Melling Ultra Motorsports, has the pole position to his outside. Keyshawn Richardson, oh no! Ruiz blows up at the green flag!
What? How do we start a race like that?
Oh my goodness, and into turn 1, the front 3 and the outside get clear, and Trey, while it's heartbreak for Bibby Ruiz, what a great job he did getting out of the way and not causing a stack up at the start-finish line.
You would have to think he saw his temps rising up on the pace laps, right? I mean, for something like that, they must have set up the car wrong for, it to blow that early, and it's almost like as soon as he hit the throttle, right? So maybe a piston or something in the engine itself, clearly wasn't put together right, and it exploded.
Yeah, I was initially going to say maybe he missed a shift, but that was too soon. As you mentioned, it was right when he was about ready to hit the gas, like right when the green flag came out. So if it was a shift, it would have happened a little bit later on because he was still probably in 1st or 2nd gear at that point, not even thinking about reaching for that shifter quite yet.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, we'll have to see what they end up saying it was, but very, very heartbreaking for that team. They were at the highs of highs, and all of a sudden, they didn't even make it to the start-finish line.
No, they did not. As, the front of the field got spread out from that. The back of the field still triple file at points. Mathis Wells, winner of this race in 2001, winner of the last race at Daytona, leads this race. Ryan Wilson moved up to 2nd place. Jay Randall moved up to 3rd place. The very rare start of the race tree where it was better to be on the outside rather than the inside, all because the pole sitter had a mechanical malfunction, on the start. Justin Seidel passing Keyshawn Richardson, moving his way up to 7th place. The 99 was up in the lead, but on the drop back, once the green flag flew, he is dropping positions down to 9th and in the battle for 10th with Keegan Thompson, and then Riley Stewart to Eli Breaker kick him outside the top 10. So Richardson started well, started 2nd place, got to the lead because of the 7th misfortunes, but here he is dropping back 3 wide on the outside.
Yeah, I don't know if he scraped the wall there or not. That was pretty close, but he is not having a good time right now. He's got to find an inside here soon. He should be able to get behind the 1 here, but nope, that 9 closed up that gap pretty quickly.
Yeah, Laura Chung said, not so fast, I want to get the spot, but she didn't get the exit. 99, Richardson should be able to possibly get down right here in that small little gap if he wants to try and take it. However, I think he'll run the middle. Sometimes that lane works better here, and then he could get down to the inside right there. So Richardson gets a good corner, gets down in line. He's now going to follow the 2 DEI cars there, trying to join their teammate up at the front of the field. But Laura Chung down to the inside and is going to keep pushing Richardson backwards. And Trey, here comes the points leader. Brett Sierra started in 21st place, already has moved up 5 positions, and has the top 15 in its sight. 16th right now for the 25 of Sierra.
Yeah, there's got to be something bigger going on with this 99. It just seems like even when he gets to the bottom, he can't get the drive off the corners, and it's not a good time for Richardson right now. So they'll have to pretty much just either survive to the first caution or pit stops come and see what they can do about it.
As Brett Sierra now puts the outside by Tim Guerin, they have a little bit of a separation. The front 21 or so over 22nd on back as Trey. We get an update for the 7 of Ruiz. A header issue on that number 7 puts him out of the race. He didn't even take the green flag before that issue happened. A tough break for the pole sitter Ruiz, who had a shot to maybe score an underdog, an upset victory here today, but it's not going to happen. He's in the garage and done already.
Yeah, that's that kind of falls into line to what we were thinking, that it was as soon as they hit the throttle, something busted. So yeah, very unfortunate. What a terrible time for that to happen, but that's just one of the products of racing, is that you're going to have mechanical failures, and majority of the time they're going to happen at the worst possible moments, and that was just another one of those.
Well, as mentioned, the front of the field got spread out. Mathis Wells continues to lead. Ryan Wilson moved up to 2nd. Jay Brando, Justin Atkins, Strickland, and Zeidel, the front 6, all in this line about 1 second apart from each other. And it's not every day that you say the driver starting in 4th place has led every lap so far here today, because normally the driver in 4th place would be dropping back to the back of the field right now. But Mathis Wells has got the lucky break, got away on the outside past Keyshawn Richardson in turns 3 and 4 on lap 1, and has led every lap since the Daytona winner. Trey, we mentioned last season in his championship season, didn't start out that well. But then when he won at Pocono, he won the next week at Michigan. Those were his first 2 victories of the season. Well, here he is, Trey. Won his first race of the season in the Daytona night race. The very next race, going down so far, dominating here at Chicagoland. Is this possibly a repeat for Wells? Not starting the season well, but starting to come alive once we get to the midpoint into that summer months.
It definitely could be, and like you said, it wouldn't be a first time we've seen it, but there's definitely plenty of time left in this race, and I wouldn't count out this 97 or this 15. I know the 15's running with a little bit of anger, I guess we could say.
A little bit of anger from Daytona, where he was not too happy with the Winston Cup Series officials, because, listen, he hit the inside wall very hard and then came up into the grass, and for whatever reason, they deemed no caution was necessary. I don't really agree with that. I think, it would have been nice to at least see if Wilson was all right, and if that car was all right, because who knows, he could have gotten back going and caused something bigger if, something came off the car or something. So I would have rather see a caution come out. And Wilson obviously rathered that as well, but unfortunately no yellow did come out, and, he had to live with what happened right there. Now he's running in 2nd place here at Chicagoland and trying to hold off a hard-charging Jay Brando down to turn 3, but I don't know if he's going to be able to do it. That 97 looks strong, and he's going to make the move to the inside through 3 and 4 and should be able to make that pass for 2nd place.
Here, how he exits is off 4 here. They're still side by side, and here comes that 30. And here comes the other guy that we were just talking about.
Yeah, Lathan Strickland following up Justin Atkins, as we have a lot of blue and yellow cars up here, bound the 15, the 30, the 48, as Rando finally clears for 2nd place. Now Atkins going for 3rd, 3 wide for 4th. Justin Zeidel makes the big move on his teammate and Ryan Wilson. The 15's going to back out of that, knowing that was not going to work out. And Wilson, maybe a piece of paper could have fit between himself and the wall. That's it. But he's still dropping back on the outside, nowhere to go. He can get him behind the 5, but that'll drop him back to 8th place.
Now, do you think if the 48 and the 15 were switched spots there, the 15 maybe would have, quote-unquote, missed the corner?
Yeah, and hit his door a little bit, pushed him up into the
Yeah,
concrete?
yeah.
Maybe so. I don't know.
Not saying that, he would go there, but take stir the pot a little bit.
Ooh, Jericho tight
Whoa.
off turn 4. Zidell lucky from that. He gets a huge run down the front stretch and clears. But Trey, as the 97 passes that 15, it's the closest someone's been to Matheus Wells since the start of the race. So Jay Rando looks like he has a faster car than Matheus Wells at the moment, and pressuring down the back straightaway right there in the back bumper of Wells into turns 3 and 4. Might be able to make this pass in the next few laps.
He's going to look to the inside. Wells went with the middle there. The 97 is going to stick it to the bottom. Is he going to get the drive off he's looking for going into 1? It does not look like it at the moment. It looks like if you're going to want to make a move, it's going to be going into 3. It seems like where a majority of the runs are getting generated.
It does seem like that. Looks like, if you can't get off turn 4, it seems like it just kind of it stalls out. It kind of steadies out. You can't really gain much time down the front stretch. But a quick update on some drivers that have either started poorly and kind of fallen, or drivers that are coming up to the front. Keyshawn Richardson still down in 16th place. Sarah Kirchner had to come from a little bit further back. She's up to 17th. Brett Seaver is still steady in 18th place. Not too bad, not too great currently for that number 25. Conrad Evans has moved up to 22nd place. Matthew Burnett's currently 27th. Jordan Stout was the slowest car here in qualifying. Started back in 39th. He's up to 28th. Zachary DeLello from the back of the field started 41st because of inspection, up to 30th place. Sabet Alisk and Zach Fitzwater Sr. started back there as well. They're 31st and 32nd. Evan Hunter wasn't that strong in qualifying. Finished top 5 here last season, but is currently stuck back in 34th place. And Trey, the two drivers that are fighting for 35th place and under his points, Jacob Miller is 35th and Colin Lewis is 36th. Just 0.2 of a second separate those two.
I told you got to keep a camera on those two guys right there, because they're going to be going at it all day long.
There they are. Colin Lewis passing Jacob Miller. So just last lap, Trey, it was Miller in the top 35. Now Colin Lewis is in the top 35. That's just how fast these things change. See back here, Matt Tuck, Roberto Crown Jr., 41 of Albert, 40 of Benny Lynn. Henry Guo has dropped as well for the lead. Jay Brando on Matheus Wells into turns 1 and 2.
Oh, it's a lot easier to pass the car when you got 3 other guys behind you, ain't it?
Yeah, when you have Atkins and Strickland and Zidell all pushing you forward. Jay Rando to the front of the field here in the Tropicana 400. Atkins trying to get to second place. And where can Matheus Wells fall in? Here comes Justin Zidell, a big run off turn number 4, but gets a little tight. And here comes Jericho and Keegan Thompson to join the fun. Wells down in line in 3rd place, but it's Jay Rando in the race with Atkins in 2nd. Wells kick back to 3rd. Zidell will move to 4th, and Chris Jericho for 5th on Lathan Strickland, the 48, the one who's going to lose out in all this.
Yeah, hopefully he's going to be able to work with his teammate here and find a spot in line, but they want to do it quick because the guy behind them ain't going to let that happen, and there he goes filling up that gap. But yeah, that 48's going to continue to fall back here if he cannot find a space in line, as he's going to continue to fall. And here comes the 28 and then the 8 of Eli Bright. So we'll have to see what the damage is for this 48 Hendrick.
Riley has had a pretty good start to this race. That number 28 car, he started outside the top 15. Methodically has worked his way up to now going for 8th place on Strickland, maybe even 7th. Big run on Ryan Wilson. So this 28 car looks pretty sporty. If he gets some track position, who knows? And how about, the 3 DEI cars? They found each other. Ryan Wilson, the 15, has dropped back. Eli Bright and Anthony Hernandez, they found each other for the past however many laps. And now they've joined up to their teammate Ryan Wilson. So all 3 DEI cars still letting look away from the TV. They're all in the same pack together and could be racing each other at some point.
That, I don't know if that's a good thing. You want your cars racing each other?
I'd like it if they're 1st, 2nd, 3rd, whatever, but maybe not. They're back here, around 9th, 10th place, and it could be a big battle for 2nd. Matheus Wells trying to get it back on Atkins. The 30 ran a little bit wider, got a better run off the corner down the straightaway, and here comes Zidell. Matheus Wells didn't get a good run. Here comes Justin for 3rd. Couldn't get it done. Wells slams the doors. 2 DI cars side by side. Eli Bright on the outside. Anthony Hernandez looking to take 10th place.
This is the part where what's pit stop looking like?
We got about 5 laps at least until pit stops start.
So now they're starting to try to figure out what they want to do, right? If they want to undercut, overcut. If you're this 30, 20, or 24, honestly, I feel like they're thinking more of the undercut strategy, right? But if you're this 18, you might be in the range to do such a thing, but you're also at a good place to just be like, hey, leaders pit now, how about we come down with them?
Exactly. I think for, the 18 to 5, you just do whatever's going to get you the least amount of traffic on pit road. If, if say the 30, the 20, and the 24 all come down together, you might as well stay out for the 18 to 5, because then, if you come down with the 97, you only have one car in front of you, and you can actually make up time with your pit entry rather more than the fresh tires, because if you come down with a large group of cars, it gets easily congested on pit road. You can lose all that time you would gain on those fresh tires.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like, this 18 and the 5, they might be in the best option here because they're close to the leader, but at the same time, they have, different strategies they can go with for pit road, but, we'll just have to see what they end up going with as the one passes his teammate of Eli Bright there. And, that DEI, they've been slowly getting their way better and better each week.
Yes, they have. In fact, as the whole group, it started with Eli Bright performing well, but ever since that number 8 got to victory lane, really all three cars have looked very, very strong week in and week out. This number 33 looks pretty strong up to 14th place. She's still gaining spots. Brett's here looking for 15th, so he's still gaining. Conrad Evans is gaining through the field. Kukulon and Richardson are dropping back. They've currently held the last few spots inside the top 20. Here we go, the number 12 and the number 1 starting with a huge undercut, the 30 and the 5 as well. So these drivers coming in very soon. But Trey, the question is, did they pit too soon? Because they have not completed half of the race yet. Can they make it on fuel from here?
Yeah, that's a unique play. I didn't expect them to come in that soon, right? So we'll have to see if it works out for them. As you can see, some of the guys further back in the pack are also coming in. Does the 97 come in this time? It looks like he is.
Absolutely. At the 20, the 24, does anyone stay out longer? So far, everyone's coming in within these 2 laps. Does anyone want to stay out? The 17, Matthew Burnett's saying, I'll try it. Why not?
I mean, who's that also behind him? Yeah, so we'll have to see. I mean, you would have to think that these guys are at least, they're good on fuel once they come in, right? They're guaranteed.
And you know what? Burnett got 5 points right there for leading that lap, so that's good for him. And also, these 2 drivers, the 17 and the 32, a lot less congestion when they come on pit road because these drivers are finishing up their stops. They're already going away, and these guys are just coming on pit road now, so they won't have to deal with, having to pit with 30 other cars on pit road. As there goes Atkins. He's the first off pit road with Keegan Thompson of that group. Will they be able to undercut Jay Brando on pit road? They race off into turns 1 and 2. The 97 is up a little bit ways. There he is. Zidell gained some spots on pit road. Atkins is up to speed. Brandon's still getting up to speed. It's going to be close because we know that the tires here, they take a little bit to heat up. So Randall could drop back here. We'll see if Atkins can gain the time. Zidell's going to try and block his teammate Keegan Thompson. We'll see if the number 5 can get the run off turn number 4 here to get those spots from that number 24. So it looks like Trey J. Randall's crew did their job on pit road. They are going to, looks like, assume the lead with Atkins in 2nd, Zidell in 3rd, Thompson in 4th, Jericho up to 5th, Mathis Wells 6th, and Anthony Hernandez, the big gainer on that stop, went from 10th to 7th with his undercut.
Yeah, definitely. And I think this might be the one time where an undercut doesn't end up working for the lead, right? And we'll have to see if that develops any. As you can see, Thompson's trying to find a way past his teammate in the 24, but couldn't get the run off of turn 4. Now he's going to try it again, going down in the 1 and 2. But, I mean, this lead did close up, right? Yep. So, I mean, it did, in a way, work. But normally it works whenever you pass the guy on pit road. But now he's making a pass on the track.
Yeah, and here goes Atkins for the lead on Jay Randall. The big question mark over Justin Atkins, did they pack it full of fuel? Because he went 26 laps on the first run. He has to go now 28 laps on this run. So do they have the fuel to make it? Did they include that in their calculation of when to come down pit road? Or did they mess up a little bit on pit road? We'll have to see with, the 30, the 5, the 1 all played that undercut strategy. Can they make it on fuel? We know the 97, he pitted at halfway. He should be able to make it as long as they've made it full. Same with the 24, the 18, the 20, and all of them. But there are some drivers out here on the racetrack. The big ones are, once again, those top 3, Rando, Thompson, and Hernandez, that could be a little bit questionable. Or excuse me, Atkins, Thompson, and Hernandez, who could be questionable on fuel because they came in a little bit sooner than halfway.
How many races have we had this so far this season that it's come down to fuel?
We've had quite a few, a little bit more than I think these drivers and crews would want, because it's a bit of a headache when you're down there and you're having to figure out the fuel mileage and trying to know if you can make it or not. When's the best time to pit? Maybe something says, hey, the best time to pit is a few laps before halfway because of the tires, but you might not be able to make it on fuel from there. So it's all a big guessing game for those crews on pit road, but a great time as the action has kind of died down towards the front. Let's get to our Gatorade audience analysis. And let's get to last week's question, where at Daytona we had asked, what manufacturer would you choose if you start up a Winston Cup Series team? Trey, we know that you would say Pontiac because your team is a Pontiac. Unfortunately, you didn't sway the votes with that. 57% said Chevrolet, but maybe that's reasonable because most of the field isn't Chevrolet, so you'd have to expect a lot of the fans that watch are fans of Chevrolets.
Yeah, that's I guess that would make the most sense, right? I mean, I don't agree. But
I know.
I guess that would make the most sense.
Well, it's a Chevrolet leading right now with Justin Atkins out in front. Jericho passing Keegan Thompson for 4th, and Matt Wells going for 5th. But this week, we're asking about the schedule for next season. Of the following tracks listed, which would you add to the 2004 NASCAR Winston Cup Series schedule? Would it be the Kentucky Speedway in Sparta, Kentucky? Would it be Memphis, that short track in Tennessee? How about the Nashville Super Speedway, that weird concrete track? Or would you maybe add Nazareth, that other weird track in Pennsylvania?
Let's go Nazareth, right? I mean, not just because I'm a PA boy. So I don't know how you feel about that too, but that's the one that's like.
Yeah, you can't describe
whatever.
It. That's how weird it is.
How do you describe that, Joe? I would love to see these guys try to tackle that track.
Yeah, we already have the Busch Series guys that do it. Why not give the Winston Cup guys some benefit? It's kind of weird that with that graphic you put up the 2004 NASCAR Winston Cup Series, because it's not the Winston Cup Series 2004, but Winston's still paying for the brand rights throughout the end of 2003, so you have to call it the Winston Cup Series, even though we have Nextel coming on next season.
Yeah, that's one of those things that it might take a little bit to get used to.
Yeah, especially when 2004 rolls around and we're like, the Nextel Cup Series. But it's still Winston for now, and we have Winston for the next few months, and we'll enjoy it while we can.
Yeah, we'll have a whole off season to practice it too.
Exactly that. As Randall closing back up on Justin Atkins, but while he's closing up Trey, this man in 3rd place is also quietly moving into it. He was over a second back a few laps ago. Now make it half a second back. Justin Seidel, one of the fastest cars on the racetrack, Trey, and he's gaining on those 2 cars in front.
Now, Joe, I feel like it's been forever since we've seen the 24 in victory lane. Remind me of when that was again?
2000, Labor Day weekend at Darlington.
Oh, it's been years. Years.
Almost 3 years. We're almost coming up on 3 years to the day since Justin Seidel has seen Winston Cup Series victory lane. Still gaining on the front 2. Now down to 0.4 of a second. He still has over 15 laps to get there as well. Let's update a few other drivers. Keegan Thompson has dropped off the front 5 in 6th place and losing time to even Anthony Hernandez. Riley Springton was solid 8th place for the number 28. Layton Strickland has fallen back to 19th. Eli Bright back up to 10th place, but he is 6 seconds behind the race leader. Kirchner's up to 11th. She had a very good pit stop. Not a great stop for Ryan Wilson, dropped him down to 13th. Evans has gained up to 14th. Brett Sear about where he was in 16th place. A very good run so far for Nathan Baird, up in 17th for Bill Davis Racing. Hunter Reed with the top 20 in 18th. Richardson still down in 20th, make it 19th. He just passed Hunter Reed, who's fallen to 20th place. Martinelli, a very solid stop. He did the undercut. He's up to 21st place. Burnett and Stout are down with their teammate DeLello, 23rd, 24th, 25th. Kugelman has dropped massively down to 26th place. Jerry Chen and Evan Hunter moved up inside the top 30. Matt Tuck is up inside the top 30. Remember, he stayed out longer with Matthew Burnett. Oskin still down with Fitzwater in 31st and 33rd. They've not been able to gain much ground on pit stops. And as it runs right now, Colin Lewis would keep the top 35 position, currently in 38th place, while Jacob Miller is about 3 seconds behind him in 40th. Lewis has just moved around their Alliance car, Nolan Lawrence, who's dropped back massively on this run. Lewis down to 37th, Miller still stuck down in 4th, and Jason Albert, had an issue in pit road, has come back down. He's now 2 laps down to number 41.
We'll have to, this 24, Joe, I've been watching it, right? He gets the runs, he tries to make a move, you know who doesn't bite on them? The 97.
Well, Rando knows how to win. He's won in basically everything he's raced. Think back to, the 22 for Bill Davis Racing. He won in that car. He won in the Hendrick car. He was the only Hendrick car to win last season. He's won in this Roush car. He knows how to get to victory lane. The question is, does he have the speed to get to victory lane?
There he goes.
Seidel with a move into turn 1 on the inside with 12 laps to go, trying to get it from Jay Rando. And then could this bring Chris Jericho into the fight and maybe his teammate Mathis Wells as well?
Who does Jericho help here? He's going to be the 24 on the inside lane. Chevy helping Chevy, and it's going to get the job done.
And And now it's going to move Chevy to a 1-2-3 as Atkins is in the lead. Jericho got tight, though. That's
Whoa.
been a big mess of that number 18. He's not being able to get off turn 4 if he's side by side. He gets tight, and right there brings Mathis Wells into the fight. He's looking out 3 wide. Maybe thinks better of it because it's a teammate right in front of him. He thinks maybe I should just push this number 18 instead of trying to cause a crash with them.
Yeah, definitely. Watching, turns 3 and 4 with these guys, they'll start the middle, right? Right here, they'll go middle, and then they'll move their way down to the inside right about here. And it seems like that's where, in the 20 just did it there too. It seems like that's where these guys are, they can't really connect with the bottom there, and they're getting tight and pushing up the track.
And this brings Hernandez and Riley Spruce into the battle with Keegan Thompson as well. The 5 tried to go high, the 1 goes low. Hernandez trying to pass as Mathis Wells is looking to get 4th from Jay Randall. So Randall went from running down the leader to now back to 5th place in that number 97 in the span of just a lap or 2. Hernandez moving on Thompson for 6th place. Then Riley Spruce was there. Sarah Kirchner's moved her way up inside the top 10 again by Eli Bright in the number 8. Kirchner's now up to 10th place as these two stay side by side for 6th. Thompson on the outside, Hernandez on the inside. But Trey, as we're watching this, a 10th gain for Zidell last lap, down to just under 0.2 of a second. This number 24, fastest car out here right now.
But he has no one really to help him kind of push his way past that 30. I mean, if you remember when he passed the 97, that was when Jericho got pretty close on the back of that 24 to, really kind of help him a little bit. So are we going to wait to see if Jericho can catch up to these front two, which it looks like he is slowly starting to do, but how is this 24 going to end up getting past his 30?
You have to wonder if those 1 lap older tires for Atkins are playing into this. Maybe Zidell and Jericho, they can gain with each other, and then maybe, as you mentioned, if the 18 gets to that 24, gets close enough to give him a little bit of a burst of momentum, he can make the move work as Atkins trying to fend off Zidell and Chris Jericho. They're running that very odd line, as you mentioned, through 3 and 4. As they enter middle, they go low at the apex, then try and exit high again. Atkins and Zidell separate by just a 1/10.5. Then 4.5 tenths back, it's Chris Jericho on the 18. His teammate Mathis Wells just a second back. It's all coming down to the wire here at Chicagoland. We're nearing the final 5 laps. Zidell with a big run off turn 2 to the back bumper of Atkins, down the back straightaway. Can he make the move in 3 and 4? Will he have to wait for 1 and 2?
He didn't have enough space to do it right there. He's got to back off again and try to get the run to go one more time here. They're coming off turn 4. Does he have anything going for him this time? I don't see it, but you never know what's going to happen. Is he going to look? Not yet.
I'd also like to mention, while the 30 is fighting for this lead with the 24 and the 18, don't count out the fuel issue where he came down before halfway. Can he make it on a tank of fuel is the big question for Atkins, Thompson, and Hernandez. And big for Atkins because he's leading this race. He definitely doesn't want to have to come down pit road. The 30, a better 3 and 4 that time. Zidell fading off the 30 that lap. He's lost. He was only about a 1/10.5 back last time. He's definitely a lot more than that this time. 0.3 of a second back now with just 5 laps to go.
Yeah, it's almost like the car didn't want to really settle in to the corner there, and it kind of affected the 18 as well. So we'll have to see if they can gain up that space back and then try another set of moves here. But you could see them right there catching in, so they had a better 1 and 2. How are they going to go in 3 and 4 this time around?
Kind of follow Atkins, and again, Zidell just didn't really get the run off the corner. Jericho gets the run to the back bumper of the 24. Does he try and make the pass, or does he try and push? He's going to try and make the pass. Down to the inside with 4 laps to go for 2nd place. He needs to pass him immediately because Atkins can really get a gap here, get away, and hold that lead.
The only thing I'm thinking about here is, think about the last time Jericho was on the bottom in 3 and 4. What happened?
He got
tight. Is it going to happen again for the upteeth time? Not this. Oh, well, a little bit.
It did. Zidell gets a run back. Atkins loves it. Look at the gap he's pulled with just 3 laps to go. Zidell's trying to fight for everything he can in case that number 30 is short on fuel.
We're going 3 wide.
Mathis Wells, the big move. Jericho trying to block him off.
Track.
Oh my goodness, what about for 2nd place? Wells gets in behind the 18 for now. 2 laps to go at the line. They stay side by side for a second down to turns 3 and 4. Atkins has gotten away. The only way they can beat him now is if he's short on fuel.
It almost looked like, Mathis was going to put him 3 wide, and he goes, oh, wait, this is a teammate. And then he backed out of it.
Luckily he did, because they were getting close and almost making some contact. Jericho gets to 2nd. Zidell back to 3rd. Just 2 laps to go. They're over a 2nd back. Atkins has pulled away, but does have the fuel to make it another lap and a half. Down the back straightaway, the white flag this time by for this number 30. We had mentioned his 2 victories came at 1.5 mile D-shaped ovals. Vegas, and Kansas. Well, here's another one. At Chicagoland, he's all 4 under power. The white flag is in the air. Final lap for Justin Atkins here at Chicagoland.
He has no pressure out back, really. He just has to hit his marks. And honestly, Joe, he could kind of go half throttle, right? If he's close on fuel, he has plenty of space to go half throttle.
Absolutely. He has over a second in hand to Chris Jericho. Down the back straightaway, turns 3 and 4 for the final time. He won earlier this season at Las Vegas. It hasn't been much better since. But off turn number 4, it's another victory at a 1.5 mile D-shaped oval. Justin Atkins is into victory lane at Chicagoland. And Trey, the fuel held up for them.
Yeah, definitely. So that was not a factor. So they knew more than we knew, Joe. And it seems like that happened quite a bit.
Yeah, I think they knew, hey, we can go like 28, 29 laps on that tank of fuel, so let's really undercut, get it full of fuel, and then we know, hey, we'll have fresher tires sooner, and it worked out for Atkins. And he obviously got lucky with that big battle for second place behind, where Jericho and Zeidel and all of them were going after it, because it looked like that number 18 and number 24 were easily faster than Atkins. They just couldn't find a way to get to him or get by him.
Yeah, definitely. And I think another thing that goes into that is that, like we've mentioned during the race, that 18, 24, it seems like the 24 was almost loose going into 3 and 4, and the 18 was tight. So it was where the 30 had the advantage and knew he was better than them is what really helped them pull away there as well. So, just an overall great race run by this 30. And like you said, if we're at a D-shaped oval, put money on that 30 car.
Yep, exactly. The driver knows how to get it done here, and the crew knows how to set up a good race car as well. Everything clicked together here today for Justin Atkins to get to victory lane in the Tropicana 400. Second place goes to Chris Jericho. A very solid day. He's starting to get a little bit more consistent. In fact, Joe Gibbs Racing as a whole getting a little bit more consistent as we get midway through the season. Zeidel, probably his best race of the season. Third place for the number 24 car. While it's not the victory he was so longing for, still a very solid building block for the rest of this season as we get into it. Mathis Wells ends up in 4th, backing up his Daytona win in a very strong manner. In the top 5 for Jay Ren, 11 laps, unfortunately didn't have the car in that final run of the race. Keegan Thompson, very solid day in 6th place. Anthony Hernandez in 7th. Riley Spriggan, Lathan Strickland, Sarah Kirchner complete the top 10. All 3 of the 3 of the 400 cars end up inside the top 10, with their lowest being the points leader Brett Sierra's Eli Bright gets 11th. Solid day, definitely not what he was looking for, but it could have been a lot worse. Mitchell Collins, Conrad Evans came from mid-pack, 13th, just like his teammate Sarah Kirchner, came through the field in a very solid manner. Nathan Baird, a very solid day, 14th for Bill Davis Racing, and Keyshawn Richardson, they made the right adjustments on pit road. He gets a top 15 with Brett Sierra falling to 16th. Solid points day, beat Evan Hunter, lost a few points to Eli Bright. Overall, a net gain, I would have to say, for Brett Sierra on the points, as Laura Chung, Ryan Wilson dropped, and Hunter Reed, the last car in the top 20. Matthew Burnett with his overcut, I think it worked out well for him in 21st place. Jude Martinelli, his undercut worked in 23rd. DeLello from the back of the field gets 24th. Kukulon dropped to 25th. The other Bill Davis car with a very solid day, Nathan Orman in 26th. Jordan Stout was the slowest car in qualifying, 28th place for him. Evan Hunter had to fight through the field, 29th, solid day, but once again, not what he needed, coming in second in points. That curse continues. So Medalskin from the back of the field, Zachary Fitzar Sr., they didn't gain much ground. Colin Lewis gained a lot of ground on Jacob Miller, finished 6 spots in front of him. He easily leaves ahead of Miller inside the top 35. You see Nolan Lawrence drop down here towards the end, and as we mentioned, Albert 2 laps down, Bibi Ruiz. The issue from pole position, a header, puts Ruiz out before the green flag even flew. And now, Trey, we take a look at the points. Second place again, didn't have a good day at the racetrack, so Brett Sierra gets away. Eli Bright gains a little bit, Lathan Strickland gains a little bit, Keyshawn Richardson gains very slight amount. It's still a big gap for Brett Sierra heading into these final few races.
A lot of gains, but is it going to be enough, Joe? I mean, that's the big question, right? Is the gap too big to overcome here? I mean, anything can happen. Sierra could have a couple of bad races, but I don't know. That 25 is looking strong.
He's consistent when he needs to be, and when he's not consistent, when he's finishing bad, Trey, the guys behind him are finishing just as bad as him.
So I mean, it's a I give, you give at the same time type of scenario, then, isn't it?
Something like that. But next week could be a big one in terms of the championship, because it's gonna be a track position based track. If you don't have the track position, it's gonna be very hard to gain it throughout the race. We're of course talking about the Bristol Motor Speedway for the Food City 500 under the lights on the Saturday night. Trey, I remember back in 2000 when you were chasing Keegan Thompson for the points lead, and Thompson qualified back in like 40th, and we said, wow, Trey Bartow's a really good chance to gain points. You went out and qualified like 39th.
Yeah, it was a bad day. I wasn't feeling like qualifying that day.
apparently you and Keegan were not, but it could be a big day for someone. You know, if Brett Sear doesn't have the best at qualifying results, he could lose a lot of points to someone like Evan Hunter or Eli Bright. On the flip side, if he qualifies well and the others don't, he can gain a lot of points. It's all about track position at Bristol, and all about how the pit stops work and when cautions fall during that. We'll have to see how it all plays out next week on JRTV on Saturday night. Today is all about Justin Atkins, his second victory of the season here at the Chicagoland Speedway. For Trey Bardo, I'm Joe Rakowski. So long from Chicagoland, but tune in on Saturday night for short track racing under the lights at the Bristol Motor Speedway, race number 20 of the 2003 season.